What is going on, CLG YouTube? Welcome back again to another video. And look, I know you may have not been spending the past 12 years studying up on your fighting game terminology and techniques like I have. You know, you've been busy with your Legends of Leagues, your strikes of counters, and whatever the kids are into these days. So I know it might be a bit confusing if you're new to the fighting game scene and you're watching tournaments and people are talking about meaties and links and you're thinking about sausages. Well, that's not exactly what's going on in these tournaments and in these games. So I figured today what we would do is we would go to Twitter and ask about the common fighting game terms that people who are new to fighting games don't understand, or terms that people when they first join the scene thinks that they mixed up. And I went to Twitter and we got a lot of responses for this. Every time I ask one of these questions, a lot of people chime in. And one thing to point out is a lot of people were referencing this amazing tool, and I'm going to reference it as well, of course. If you have any question about fighting game terminology and definitions, you need to go to the Fighting Game Glossary by Info. We'll link it in the description, glossary.info.net. It basically has the most comprehensive dictionary of all fighting game terms, and including like game-specific stuff, because one big challenge with fighting game terms is that it often does not have one definition, and it might kind of vary from person to person, context to context, game to game, even though it shouldn't, but that might happen. So look, I thought we'd play a bit of a game with this. I'll answer the definition for the word present in the Twitter comment, and then we'll double check what the definition says on the Fighting Game Glossary, and we'll see how close I get to the dictionary, the official dictionary definition of the term. Because like I said, I've been in the scene for about 12 years now. Even I will have somewhat of a different perspective on what a term means, because my background is mostly Street Fighter. Someone from a different scene might have a different idea. And trust me, there are some contentious words in the FGC that mean many different things to many different people. For some reason, safe jumps are like long division to me. I learned what it means, then a week later I've forgotten again. Yeah, this can be a weird one, but to be honest, if you just look at this word right here, it's the most self-explanatory I think I can get in all of these examples. Most of these words will not be self-explanatory. It's right here. It's a jump that is safe. Typically in fighting games, if you are jumping at someone, you're taking a risk. When you go into the air, in most games, you can't block. Now, there's definitely a lot of exceptions. If you come from a Street Fighter background, that's the case. You cannot block in the air. So the jump is risky. A safe jump is basically a situation where your jump is guaranteed to not be anti-aired. That's it. Usually it happens when you get a knockdown, you hit the opponent, they fall to the ground. It means you can get your jump in, and no matter what, they're forced to block it. They cannot anti-air it. It's a jump that is guaranteed to be safe. Let's see how good I did. Safe jump, a very well-timed jump attack on a character who is rising from a knockdown. Okay. A safe jump is an option select. We might get more into that later. They're getting real technical with this. Let's see a video example. So they're not really showing the example of the safe jump hitting in this video, but from every one of these examples here, you can see that they go for the offensive jump, and then right before the person goes for the anti-air, they actually end up blocking. So here he's going for an offensive jump move. She does the anti-air DP, but he's able to block in time. You know, here, same thing, going off for an offensive jump, able to block before Soul Bad Guy does the anti-air move. So these are examples of offensive situations. You get the knockdown and you get a safe jump. Forces them to block, really, because normally they're going to be forced to hold the pressure after. So, okay, I was pretty close on that one. All right, Doreen. In the beginning, I asked 3 separate people to explain meaty to me, and they all gave answers that just confused me more. This is probably the most frequently used fighting game term that is the least intuitive in a sense, but, you know, I will try to make it intuitive, all right? And the problem with meaty is, yes, it's often used in I would say, like, there's a dictionary definition and a colloquial usage of the word meaty, okay? To me, the dictionary definition of meaty is when an attack lands on an active frame that isn't the first active frame. It lands on a later active frame than the first one. So what did I just say? All right, so look, when you throw an attack in a fighting game, there's not just 1 millisecond where it's able to hit, for example, right? When you throw a punch, there's multiple animation frames where that punch is actually able to come in contact with you, okay? So there's going to be 1, 2, 3 frames where that punch can actually connect with you, okay? You know, a frame is like in a movie, you know, it's moving pictures, 1 frame, 2 frame, 3 frame, 1, 2, 3. So it's not just one active frame where a move can hit somebody. It can be multiple. Some moves have more active frames or less active frames than others. If I whiff the first couple active frames so connect with the later active frame, it hits meaty. And when you see it in action, you can really feel it because the move ends up hitting much later than usual, and it has a very oomph, like a big meaty impact. It's a feeling you get when you see a move hit meaty, right? And we'll probably see a video example shortly to help make that more clear. But the colloquial definition is just when a person is getting off the ground, if you time your attack so that it hits them as they're getting up, so that they're forced to either block or get hit, like they can't press any non-invincible buttons, they just get hit, that's a meaty. Even if it doesn't hit on a later active frame than the move, most people call that a meaty. As a person's getting up, place your attack on top of them so that they're immediately forced to either block or interact with your move. That's about it. Let's see what the official dictionary has to say about that. Let's see, meaty, a term with 2 distinct but sometimes overlapping definitions. The most common definition of a meaty attack is an attack that hits an opponent on the very first frame possible after they rise from a knockdown. Right. So this was like what I call the colloquial usage of the word. The other definition of meaty is an attack that makes contact with the opponent not on its first active frame like normal, but on a later active frame instead. This will generate the same hit stun, block stun. There's a lot of terms here we're gonna have to cover for this to make sense, but usually when a move hits meaty, you can do bigger combos. You have more advantage. So usually when you land a move meaty on someone, it's good for you. It's definitely a positive thing. So let's see some examples here. Ooh, I like this one. It's already technical in its explanation, just using the hitboxes, but I really like this. Okay, so man, fighting games are complex. I'm gonna have to explain to you guys hitboxes and hurtboxes. This video, CLG, do your best. Like, we're losing everybody right now. We're getting it's time to nerd out. Okay, crash course in hitboxes. Your character is not your character, all right? Your character is not this pretty model you see on the screen. Your character is actually a collection of boxes, okay? The green box represents where you can get hit, okay? If this is who you are, this is what you want to hit. What you want to hit your opponent's green box. How do you hit the opponent's green box? You do an attack. The attack creates a red box. If your red box connects with their green box, you hit them. It's that simple, okay? Now, let's ignore the yellow and the blue for now. Don't worry about that. So as you see, this other Jago player here, he's getting off the ground. He currently does not have a green hurt box anywhere, right? That's because when you're getting off the ground, you're invincible for a short period of time. You can't move or do anything, but you can't be hit either. But you see the attack that this Jago has done, it's already here. The red hitbox is already there. But there it is. Now finally, after some time, the other Jago player's green hurt box appears. There it is. And the red hitbox is still there on top of him. So this meets both definitions of meaty. It is both a move that is hitting later in the active frames, because you see here, the moment the red shows up, that's the first active frame. So there's multiple active frames, so it's hitting on a later active frame, and also it's immediately on top of the opponent's green hurt box the moment they wake up. So this is a meaty. And there you go. That's what's happening under the hood with the fighting game. So I'm sure all of you are 100% understanding everything you're looking at and seeing and have no questions whatsoever. It's true. Yeah, if you have any question about any of these moves, I guess you can just look it up. Forward, also known as low forward, another name for medium kick. There you go. All right. When I first saw numpad notation, I was utterly confused. I never really played games on PC, so I had no idea it references a keyboard. It is not as obvious as people say it is. The players that never had a keyboard in front of them while playing. So I'm not actually trying to explain concepts in this video, just the words. So if you never heard of numpad notation, it is literally numpad. So if you have a keyboard that actually still has a numpad section on it, Basically, what the idea is, it maps, each number maps to a direction that you would either move your arcade stick or press on your D-pad on your controller, and people would use that to describe combos and movement so that they can, you know, post it on the net and describe to one another without any discrepancy what inputs they're talking about performing. It is very not intuitive at first. My keyboard does not have a numpad, so when I learned numpad notation, I was constantly glancing at my keyboard and realizing I had no numpad, and I would have to picture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in my head, and then think about it. This is primarily done in like anime game scenes, not really so much in the Street Fighter Capcom scene, but once you learn it, it's great for transcribing combos. It's not good for speaking, but for text, it is like a one-to-one description of exactly what you're inputting, but it can be very unintuitive at first. I agree. Numpad notation, a way to describe joystick inputs using numbers instead of letters or words. Let's see, do they have a nice input? Yep, this is the graphic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That would be your numpad if you had one on your keyboard, and it maps to a direction you would push on your arcade stick. So, great graphic here to help explain what it really looks like. I still don't know what the heck an Oki is, if that's even how you spell it. This one was brought up a lot in different ways and shapes and forms. I think Oki would normally be shortened as OKI. It's short for Okizami, whatever you want to say it. It's a Japanese word, and the actual definition of it, the actual translation of it, I always forget. But what it means in practice is the pressure or mix-up you apply to the opponent once you knock them down. So the knockdown situation in a fighting game is almost universally a very powerful opponent, a very powerful moment for the person asserting their offense. In many games, when you knock someone down, it presents a situation where you can pressure them or go for a mix-up, which is another great word to learn. Basically, you attack them in a way where they're not sure how to defend. Do they block it holding down? Do they block it holding left, right? Should they jump to avoid a grab? There's many different ways you could attack them in that moment, and that is the Oki, the Okizeme. What are you going to do on offense after a knockdown? So let's see if I'm right on this one. This is the one that I feel like I have the most chance of getting incorrect. Let's see. Okizeme, also known as Oki. The mind games and mix-ups that occur around attacking and blocking when someone is rising from a knockdown. Okay, so I think I was pretty close on that one. Because, yeah, I guess it's the mix-up, right? It is pretty synonymous with the term wake-up, although Okizeme tends to refer mostly to the offensive side and which choice of attack they will use. I think I got that one. I think I got it. Let's see an example of some Okizeme. So on this first knockdown, he simply goes for the crouching lights here. Light. That time he goes for a throw. That time it's a jump in. And to defend against all these approaches, once the Glacius player is waking up, you have to defend differently for all of these different approaches. So that's kind of the idea, is that it's the mix-up once you get the knockdown, where the one player has to defend appropriately, and the other player is trying to break your defense by mixing up their offense. Oh, here's the translations. Wake up offense. So I don't know if anyone mentioned this one, but in my last example, I already said something that I think I should explain to people who don't know what's going on. I said DP. I wonder if this will even turn up. Okay. I'm going straight to the dictionary definition on this one. DP is short for Dragon Punch. This is definitely something that might not be intuitive, or it's just not intuitive, someone not in the know. A Dragon Punch refers to an uppercut move which is invincible. Usually this move can be used to hit people who are jumping at you out of the air, or also to be used on Wake Up, because it'll just blow through any attacks. The opponent who's going to pressure you would be forced to block it if they want to stay safe. So Dragon Punch, DP, people usually use that to refer to any type of move that is both an anti-air and an invincible move that they can use on Wake Up to stop someone from pressuring them. Of course, here's the classic Dragon Punch, the original, which is actually a Shoryuken. Not sure why we started calling it Dragon Punch. They say Shoryuken, but the Street Fighter 2 OGs, they had a way with words, what can I say? That's debatable. Well, actually, no, it's not. That one's invincible. I don't remember if this one's invincible. Okay, this one is invincible. I'll call that one a Dragon Punch, sure. Definitely a Dragon Punch. Also a Dragon Punch. Yeah, so different examples of moves with invincibility that can be used on defense. Whether or not they start with a punch or not. Dragon Punch is the translation of Shuriken. Oh, shows how much I know. Rising Dragon Fist. I did not know that. When they were playing footsies, should I even attempt footsies? Oh, man. Okay, I'll attempt footsies. I'll just spitball what footsies are. Footsies is the act of playing neutral, where both players are attempting to jockey for positioning and feint their movement and space control to either push the opponent into a disadvantageous spacing or positioning, or to bait out a button and whiff punish in return. Footsies, a complicated, often nebulous term that refers to the battle of controlling the space in front of you, often using good pokes. In essence, you are trying to get to a range you like while trying to deny your opponent getting to a range that they like. Okay, I think I did okay. This is the footsie battle, third strike, classic kind of footsies. Controlling the space in front of them. Trying to predict where your opponent will be, bait them to go into certain spacings, punishing accordingly. Oh, they are playing footsies. That was actually a wild whiff punish. The dash up jab into the Tatsu, I don't remember seeing that. Oh, here's the literal game footsies where they boil the game down to a couple of moves, a couple of core mechanics. Indeed, footsies. All right, I think I did pretty good on that one. Okay. That said, you might have seen me scroll past a lot of examples that have been mentioning this one term, and this is where I feel like I might give the wrong definition. I've been pretty good this far at giving my own interpretation of these fighting game terms and then following up with the dictionary and getting right with them. I'm going to attempt to answer one of the terms which I think is the most misappropriated or misused terms in fighting games, and I'm probably going to also get it wrong and contribute to the confusion. So the problem with this term is that it's a fuzzy term. Fuzzy guard. Fuzzy. What does it mean to fuzzy? What is fuzzy? This term can be used in many different contexts, and I think it received different meanings based on different sub-communities in the FGC. So I will describe what fuzzy means to me in a general sense, and then some applications. Let's see if I can get this one. In most interactions, right? In certain interactions, there is an interesting mechanic where as you are coming out of certain states, coming out of block stun or getting off the ground, your hurt box might not match what you're doing. If you're crouching, sometimes your hurt box might be standing. All right, I don't know how technical to get. Listen, I'm going to get technical real quick. I'm sorry, CLG YouTube, you're going to be losing me. I'm going to go for it. You're crouching, but you're standing. That's just how it is. During that one frame where you're crouching, but you're really standing, you can be hit high even though you're holding down back by certain moves that would normally whiff while you're crouching. That would be an instant overhead, or it could be an instance where you could have fuzzy guarded, but you didn't. However, there's also a large subset of the fighting community that describes fuzzing as almost like an option select blocking technique where you are able to block a mix-up which involves a high-low by fuzzing the inputs. I don't really agree with that term, that usage of the word fuzzy, but fuzzy guard will often refer to a situation where, say you're in a mix-up where first they can hit you with the high, and then a few frames later they can hit you with the low. Or they can hit you with the low, and a few frames later they can hit you with the high. Fuzzy guard will be when you go block high-low, or block low-high because it blocks both options of a mix-up because they hit at different times. That would be fuzzy guarding. I don't know when you would use one versus the other, like which communities use one versus the other, but to me, fuzzy would often refer to either the state of your hitbox, your hurtbox not matching your character model, where your hurtbox is standing while you're crouching or crouching while you are standing. That would be a fuzzy state that can be manipulated by the person on offense to go for instant overheads or lows to mix you up. And fuzzy guarding or fuzzing an input would be to input almost an option select. I don't like that use of the word fuzzy. I think that's an option select, but let's see how I did. Fuzzy, a confusing term with two main meanings. Sometimes people will try to block two directions like high-low, left-right, nearly at the same time, so it's harder to land a mix-up on them. I talk about this over at fuzzy guard. Other times people will try to hit players trying to crouch block with an attack that only hits on standing characters. I talk about this at fuzzy attack. Most people refer to both of these things just as fuzzy though. Generally, whenever somebody uses the term fuzzy, they're talking about a situation where a character is trying to be in two states at once. That is kind of a fuzzy middle ground between the states, so maybe the character tries to block multiple directions at once, or you exploit a character who is trying to crouch but is actually standing. Some people will freestyle with the term a bit, talking about maybe a fuzzy backdash, trying to backdash while doing something else like blocking. If you think of the term in this context, you'll be all right. I'm sure that answered nobody's questions who's going to watch this YouTube video, but I think it reinforced, at least to me, that I was somewhat on the money here. Somewhat. I think this term is bad, and we need to get more descriptive. The problem was combining fuzzy guard and fuzzy attack. Yeah, things got a little weird there. So, hope that clears that up and wasn't confusing at all. Well, listen, guys, that's all I have for this video. I went over some of the most confusing terms that beginners have with fighting games. Now, there's a lot of other terms I'm sure that you're going to hear as you enjoy fighting game content or get into the scene and participate in tournaments and events yourself. If you have any questions about any terms, once again, please go to the glossary.infl.net dictionary, look them up. It's a great resource for learning about these terms and how they're applied in games, and it will help you level up your fighting game knowledge and gameplay yourself. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe to the CLG FGC YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.